Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Draft Order, a series of sports takes brought to you by me, your host, Robert Jenkins. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this show today. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. We are in the midst of a wild sports weekend. We got an NFL divisional round. This comes to you, I'm recording this after the Bills and Denver game. 49ers Seahawks playing right now. Seahawks are dominating and driving. So we got a lot to talk about. We're going to start the show with a little bit of an instant reaction of that Bills Denver game. And it's crazy. I step outside after the game, run some errands, and I come back and it's a completely different take I'm going to have now. So, breaking news. Bo Nix has a fractured ankle and will miss the rest of this playoffs, which is truly heartbreaking because you ended this game for Denver after an overtime win against the Bills, and I'm thinking the Denver Broncos are going to be our next Super Bowl champions. The way that defense played, the way Bo Nix has been clutch in these clutch moments, these overtimes, these fourth quarters, all throughout this season, it was starting to look like this was going to be the best team and the inevitable winner of this all. But this completely changes the game here. They go in tomorrow morning after the, I'm sure, brief celebration of this game with Jarrett Stidham as their starting quarterback in the AFC Championship game. If I'm Jarrett Stidham, I'll watch some Nick Foles tape because that's basically who you have to be for the next 3 weeks. So that's just a huge blow. Man, it's crazy. And just another reaction from that game. This may be small. Definitely too small from the moment that just happened with Bo Nix. But the NFL overtime rules are just very broken. I'm not happy with our overtime rules. It just doesn't look like a football game. We're giving too much emphasis to a coin flip decision. I mean, everybody's talking about now, once you win the coin flip, you gotta kick the ball because that'll tell you if you need a field goal or a touchdown. But it also puts losing coin flip puts so much pressure on the other team because you get down to a fourth down moment, and what is it, an auto field goal? Oh, but I can't. If I go for it, I get 0. So we're just putting too much pressure on it. I think we should just go to a straight 15 minutes. It also, if you played a 15-minute quarter, it would also give us more true game-winning drives. I didn't like that they're taking a knee in a playoff game with 4 minutes to go on the clock to kick a field goal. It just doesn't feel right. It just feels disjointed. Anticlimactic is the word, yeah. So, that was kind of just like an extra. Let me get to the rest of what I had planned for the show. I'm going to talk a little bit about college eligibility rules. Specifically, a headline coming out this week with college coaches voting, and this is going to be college football coaches in particular, have voted to expand the redshirt rule from 4 games to 9. I'm not too against this because I think that it's really going to help. NCAA has a lot of problems right now with the transfer portal, NIL. It's just all over the place. But by moving the redshirt year from 4 games to 9, you're basically essentially saying everybody gets 5 years. You can come in as a freshman, play a couple games in a spot where you weren't the freshman starter, but the guy that you were backing up gets hurt, you play a couple games, you play a 5-6 game stretch, and you still get your full year to start, come in that next year, maybe you're the starter, and you still have 4, which is not the problem. Plus, they were getting in too much legal battles with players. I mean, you got the quarterback at Childress at Ole Miss going for a 6-year waiver. This right here puts it done in the rules. You get 5. 4, maybe 5. and you know you're going to get 5 because you'll just have a redshirt year. Did you play 9 games? Yes or no? If you played 10, you played more than half the season. Let it go, in my opinion. And I hope this is just a step forward in momentum for the NCAA to tighten up their rules on eligibility. Because we got stories like, one thing that's just really grinding my gears these days is there are different rules for American players versus European players in the NCAA. So you take the most recent case in which a guy who was drafted by the NBA but didn't get any floor time, who played in the pros overseas, so it's already, we're already giving them a little something because we're letting Euro players play pro European basketball and then come over as rookies in our pro game. But now they're going Euro, playing professionally in Europe, then getting drafted by the NBA, and then coming back to the NCAA. You just can't have it. We're messing up the opportunity for the high school prospects. And then in the WNBA, you can go one and done in Europe, but you can't. You got to get 4 years, and it's just a mess. You got to do 4 years if you're an American player. It's time for the NCAA to basically officially announce that they are the professional minor league system for these pro sports in America. WNBA, NBA, NFL, and work in conjunction with the leagues to set up a system that works. Transfer portal. You transfer one time without losing a year of eligibility or having to wait. After that, suck it up. Stay at the school. Especially if we're still going to throw around the student and the athlete in this. Because how are you a student athlete? You went to 7. I read a story. A guy he's playing for his 7th school this year. I don't think they give out 1-year degrees. Well, I digress. Let's move on from kind of the back office onto more of a pitch. We have the AFCON final this Sunday. Senegal versus Morocco. These are 2 teams that have been playing phenomenal throughout this tournament. It's really setting up for a offense versus defense type of matchup. And I hope I don't mean any disrespect to the other side of each team. But Senegal has scored 3 goals on multiple occasions throughout this AFCON tournament. And as I said, I don't mean to disrespect their other abilities because Senegal is also a team who has done so without allowing more than 1 goal in any of these matchups. And the Morocco side is nothing to sneeze at either. It's a stout defensive unit that is led by a creative right back in Hakimi. They've only allowed 1 goal to this point throughout this tournament. And that's not even the most prestigious of their accomplishments that they've set out in recent history. The game in which they allowed a goal, they ended in a draw. That broke a 19-game win streak that the Morocco side had. And they're sitting on now 22 games unbeaten in all competitions. They won a fierce game against Nigeria, which would go to a penalty shootout. This is truly going to be a very exciting game to watch. And these are 2 countries that have a lot to prove, and there's a lot at stake for them with winning this AFCON title. If we get a win from Senegal, this is going to put them right at the top of the African pyramid of football. I mean, this will be their second AFCON title in 3 cycles. If you're a Moroccan side, you extend an unbeaten streak that you'll take into the World Cup. Your first AFCON title in the country's history. And you're instantly, if not one of the favorites, but everybody's dark horse name for the World Cup in 2026. And when we're back, we're going to go through Indiana versus Miami in the national championship game. That will be the icing on this sports cake. Hello guys, and welcome back to Draft Order. Here is our Indiana versus Miami national championship preview. This has been a hell of a college football playoff. These are 2 very good, deserving teams to be in this final. And as I kept looking into this game, I just kept thinking about all the different arcs in this game, the storylines. And just it really shows me everything that I love about sports here. You know, I can sit here and talk on a podcast, do rankings, do lists. You can do your list. You can tell me who's your GOAT. I can go who's my GOAT. But at the end of the day, 11 guys on one side, 11 guys on the other. They play games on the field, and they determine who is the best. And these are 2 teams that I don't think anybody imagined would be at this stage, with some characters that were overlooked, unrecognized, left for dead. So I want to talk about how these teams got here. And to figure out how the teams got here, we got to look at how some of these key individuals got here. I want to start off with Fernando Mendoza, this year's Heisman winner. But when you go back to 2021, when he was a high school recruit, we're talking about someone that was regarded as a 2 to 3 star, not even unanimous on platforms. The 134th quarterback in his class. He goes to Cal, redshirts his first year, becomes a starter in the following years, but it doesn't even look like maybe he started the first season as the opening day starter. He played 8 games, goes 3-5, 6-5 the next year. Before transferring to Indiana, and then, the rest is history. We're here. He's a 15-0, 41 touchdown to 6 interception, touchdown to interception ratio quarterback, and he's a Heisman Trophy winner. Just proving that it doesn't really matter what people think you are. If you go to the gym every day, put in that work, you can improve and get better and be at the highest stages and play at the highest levels. And then we have Carson Beck, the Miami quarterback on the other side. Someone that was highly touted. 4-star recruit, goes to Georgia, sits for a year, but that's only because they have a long lineage of winning in Georgia. Stetson Bennett was playing great. But then he gets his opportunity and shines. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, regarded as a first-round pick, until a late season playoff injury to his elbow knocks him out of the game for Georgia. The following offseason, he's forced to transfer pretty much before given a lifeline by Miami, which was a pretty big bag, but most people in the space would say Miami was overpaying a name and they were getting damaged goods in Carson Beck. But still, he's here with Miami in the national championship game. So, how do they do it? I mean, very much like their quarterback, Miami has a great opening. They play Notre Dame. They win, putting them in the spotlight of the college football season. And then they slide and falter. They lose to Louisville at home, SMU. Before getting hot, but, they're playing a bunch of little, they're not playing high-level teams, so no one's really putting them in the playoffs. But some things break for them. They get a shot. They get into the playoff. And they go on a run in which they beat Texas A&M in that offense. They hold them to 3 points. And then Ohio State, who has what we thought was one of the best college defenses that we have seen in probably the last decade, hang up 24 points on them. And then you win probably one of the games of the year against Ole Miss, 31-27. And it's just not Carson Beck. I gotta give credit all around to these players. The defense has been playing phenomenal. And also, I gotta give a shout out to Mark Fletcher. He's been crazy in this run game. He has 2 games of over 100 yards, including a 155-yard game against Texas A&M in that opening playoff games. And he has a receiving touchdown to the mix. And I know when I started this, I did say that we have 3 big characters in these arcs. So, I want to go back and let's talk about Curt Cignetti, the coach that has been on everybody's buzz since he walked in to Indiana and said, "Google me." He wins. And he has backed that up. He backed that trash talk better than anybody else could. But I'm kind of confused on why this such delayed gratification for Curt Cignetti. I look into his history, and this is a guy who was a quarterback coach for NC State, working with Phillip Rivers, and was a crucial part of bringing Russell Wilson to NC State. So you got a guy that's working with pro quarterbacks, Hall of Famers. Let's be for real. Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Famer. Russell might get a little shaky on his nod going forward than it was when he left Seattle, but I think he eventually gets in. And Russell Wilson wasn't someone that everybody thought was highly touted by everyone. So that's a diamond in the rough that he went and grabbed for NC State. And then he goes to Alabama. He's on Nick Saban's first staff at Alabama. And he is their wide receiver coach and head recruiting coordinator. And that's between 2007 and 2010. I just want people to think about some of the players that were on those rosters. Let me just to name a few. Dante Hightower, Julio Jones, Mark Ingram. And by the time his first recruiting class at Alabama reached 3 years, they had 6 first-rounders in that draft. Largely a class of juniors. So we have this guy, and it's not, a lot of people will say, well, that's just Nick Saban, the players are coming for Nick Saban. But again, this was his first year at Alabama. This is before the championships. Nick Saban, while highly regarded, was not this world beater at his last 2 stops in the Dolphins and LSU. Let's get that right, actually. He was 4-2 and 26-1 at LSU. Did he win that? Okay, actually, he did win the Natty at LSU, so I'm gonna hold you. I'm gonna give you that. But still, very hard feat. So we got what seems like to be, because they always talk about Alabama. They just had a bag man. Guy on the side gives you uncle, cousin, whatever your rep is. Before they were using agents, now with NIL, but before that, And that's why Alabama players with the auto dealerships and stuff like that. Anyway, Kirk Cinetti is the bag man, apparently. So you would think after he decides to leave Alabama in 2010, he would have many suitors calling him with FBS jobs to run their program. But it's crickets. He sits for a year before getting the job at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, a job that he got off connections for his father, who was apparently a legendary coach for IUP. But he gets there and he has instant success. 7-3 in our first year. The next year they win their division 12-2. Get to the Division II playoff. I don't know too much about IUP's history, but going 12-2, 7-3, 12-2, 9-2, 6-5, 9-3, 10-2. Surely after that, you would think, even if they had any question marks about him, maybe he's a good recruiter, but can he coach? Surely after that, they would say, oh, this guy's something. He can get stars in the building, and he can coach inferior talent to the people that he was working with before. Because as I said, even before Alabama, he was working at NC State. Phillip Rivers and Russell Wilson. So he has to move on from IUP, go on to Elon. He has middling success, but they make the playoffs. They make those FCS playoffs. And then we kind of, all the world of sports kind of get to know Kurt when he gets to James Madison in 2019, in which he has crazy success as an FCS team. 14-2, 7-1, 12-2. Before leading the James Madison Dukes through their first 2 seasons as a FBS program, in which he wins the Sun Belt. Like, what? I can't be too mad. I'm a Penn State fan. James Franklin, Bill O'Brien, very good in those times. But there's a lot of mid-major colleges that I got to think, what were you doing? Shoot, Indiana, you eventually hire him, but he's better than any coach that Indiana's had in the last 10 years before that. So for Kirk Cinetti, I'm calling this the recognition arc. It seems very clear to me that this was a guy that should have probably been on this level for some time now. And now that he's at Indiana with a full, they got the backing of Mark Cuban apparently. They're really shining. His first year in Indiana, it's 11-2, making Indiana's best season in decades straight. And we all think it's a fluke. At least I did. I'm gonna speak for myself. I thought it was a fluke. But then they go into that season. Yeah, you play your cupcakes at the beginning, you blow them out. Okay, sure. But then you open your conference opener against a ranked Illinois team. Blow them out 63-10. Well, surely they can't be Oregon. That's a blue blood. 30-20 in Eugene. Okay, here it is. They're going to falter. They're playing Penn State. They're down. Psych. Let's win this game. Break their hearts. Oh, they're also at home. Oh, no, we're also on the road. We just needed a Heisman moment for our boy Mendoza. And then we still don't believe Julian Sayin, Mendoza are both neck and neck. This what was the spread on this one? A 1.5 point spread against Ohio State. They're the underdogs. Let's beat them to 13-10. And then let's go to the playoffs. Beat Alabama 38-3. Oregon 56-22. I don't think Kurt Cinetti and this Indiana team is playing around with the world of college football anymore. So what does this mean for the national championship game? Hoosier fans, this means belt to ass. This team is going to blow out Miami. They're the number 3 scoring offense at 40.4 points a game. Number 1 in third down conversions. You can't get them off the field. And they'll take your turnovers. Take the ball from you. Number 1 in turnover margin. Just ask Julian. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, just ask Julian Sayin on the first play of the game. Take it to the house. Number 2 in scoring defense, allowing 11 points a game. Can't even get 2 touchdowns on them. So let this be clear. It's been a phenomenal season. Hats off to Miami for getting this far. Hats off for Carson Beck. Even win or lose, you redeemed yourself. I think he walks into the draft. They have to give him a shot. Mendoza's going to be the first pick in the draft. And if this game goes the way that I think it's going to go, Kurt Cinetti walks into next season as the head honcho of college football. Every job that anytime someone gets fired, they're going to be saying, oh, can they go grab Kurt Cinetti? Well, thank you guys for tuning in to the Draft Order. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you next time.